for yourself. That was when I trusted you, when I could add up 2 and 2. When you promised we'd be together, you, me, forever. Now there's nothing left to lose. And though I understand it's hard sometimes to make up your mind in these trying times, yeah, I just can't accept you leaving me when I'm overseas with the heart so heavy. Think that I deserve the truth for once, not a guilty tone, 'cause you're not alone, yeah. You said you wanna come home, but I know you don't. So this time I won't hear it on the phone. If you got something to say to me, then say it to my face. What it's all about, why you're bailing out. Think you owe me an apology. Just say it to my face. You're sorry. You're so sorry. You're so sorry. You're so sorry. Say it to my face. You're sorry.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
Today is Monday, November 29th, 2021. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to begin a little differently this morning because of the feeling that I get and so many of you get that justice doesn't win, not in this timeline. It seems as though, it feels like oftentimes, that the people of good faith are always losing. It's time, to be honest with you, it is time for an inflection point because we've seen too many evil people, too many bad people, too many people who are wicked in high places. These are the stories that we're going to cover today, or at least the underlying issues that we face every single day in this country. Let's begin, as always, with On the Clock with Georgia Ford. Georgia Fort is out this morning, but we do want to begin with the stories that matter the most to us. This week, we are beginning to see progress and movement on the Kim Porter trial. For those of you, Kim Porter trial, those of you who may not be aware of who she is, in the backdrop of the protest that took place last year, we saw Daunte Wright, a young black man, killed by this police officer who claimed that it was a mistake, that she was reaching for her taser and inadvertently pulled her weapon and killed Daunte Wright. That trial is coming up this week. I would like for us to take a listen to Daunte Wright's mother as she discusses what's coming up.
This year, my son was shot and murdered by Kim Porter, a Brooklyn Center police officer. I know Ms. Marilyn wants us to stand up here and say something good about our son, or our loved ones. Daunte was a jokester. He made everybody laugh. The minute he walked in the room, he would tell jokes. If he knew you were upset, he would do everything in his power to make you happy. One thing I can say is, as a family, I don't know if there's ever really going to be justice. We can get accountability. We can get our loved ones' murderers held to the highest accountability, but there's never going to be real justice for any of us. But I do want to say that we appreciate all of you guys for coming out, because honestly, the minute you walk in the room and you see that you have the support, it really gets us through to the next event, the next day, getting out of bed, which is a real challenge for most of us. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you.
Now, for those of you who may not be aware, April 11th of this year, it does seem like it was last year. So many things have transpired this year alone, but it was April 11th of 2021 that Daunte Wright, who was a 20-year-old black man, was fatally shot by Officer Kimberly Porter during a traffic stop. And what we're going to see this week is whether or not her excuse that she pulled the wrong gun will be a sufficient defense for her to get off. These last 2 weeks have been extremely difficult when we consider the many ways America has been able to justify getting away with murder. We did get a guilty verdict in the trial of the murderers of Ahmaud Arbery, which, to be honest with you, should never have been a question. But for so many black people in this country, we stood with tiptoed anticipation, wondering whether or not this country was going to allow those three men to get away with murder. We saw previously Kyle Rittenhouse literally getting away with murder, claiming self-defense. And now we're faced with this proposition again. The very strong possibility that the way this country is set up would allow for Kim Porter to get off with the murder of Daunte Wright. Georgia Fort is one of the few journalists who will be inside of the courtroom during this trial. She'll be bringing us coverage throughout the trial, keeping us updated inside and outside of the courtroom. We just definitely want to salute her in all of her efforts. This murder took place in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, which is just outside of Minneapolis. And it came in the backdrop of everything that was happening. The protests for George Floyd, in the backdrop of the protests for Jacob Blake, now the backdrop of the protests for Daunte Wright. It's compounding traumas. Every single week in this country, we have a compounding of traumas that are faced by so many marginalized communities, specifically the black community, because this country is adept at getting away with killing black people. There is no question about that whatsoever. Which brings me back to what I said at the beginning of this episode, and I want to get you involved in the conversation. You could join the conversation by calling. The phone lines are open, 301-715-8592. The link is attached to all the chat rooms wherever you're watching us, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whether you're watching on Act TV. Good morning to everyone. I want to circle back to the question that I asked at the beginning of this episode. When will we see an inflection point? I'm thinking of Dr. King's and his statement that the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. I don't get that feeling right now. I want to know your opinion. 301-715-8592. Later on in today's episode, we're going to be joined by Dr. Carl Mack. He's going to be joining us to discuss December 6th, which is the day in history that the 13th Amendment was ratified across this country, ending slavery. He's coming in to discuss not only that day historically, but that day in terms of the future, because there's a lot of progress. There's a lot of things that have to happen. I mean, we are honestly facing some battles in front of us that would be funny if they were not so serious. The level of comedy that we're facing, and I use that word tongue in cheek, but the level of absurdity that we're facing, particularly around COVID-19, now has us at the place where we are facing a new variant that, according to some estimates, could be hundreds of times more contagious than the Delta variant. This is a direct result of policy decisions. It's a direct result of the politicization of COVID-19. It's a direct result of the mishandling of the last administration, but as well as this administration. There are too many people who are still dying in the midst of this pandemic, but it's directly connected to the absurdity of our timeline. The world that we're living in right now is so ridiculous that we have a huge portion of this country's political elite who are pushing us down the road of sheer destruction, not only in the sense of hawking ivermectin and horse dewormer or hydroxychloroquine or all of the conspiracy theories, but even the underlying principle of why poor nations around this globe are unable to get access to the vaccine because of the patent. We are now faced with the Omicron variant of COVID-19, not just because of the political absurdity of this moment, but also because of the greed, because the manufacturers, they have to keep that patent so that they can keep making their profits. And now we're dealing with a variant that is hundreds of times estimated more contagious than the Delta variant. And we are still in the backdrop of half of this country's political elite not only playing around with COVID-19, but literally doing things to make things worse. I want us to take a listen to Dr. Fauci as he discusses the transmittability of this new Omicron variant.
It has the molecular characteristics that would strongly suggest that it would be more transmissible. It has a bunch of mutations, a disturbingly large number of mutations in the spike protein, which is the business end of the virus, which really binds, particularly in one particular component of that spike that binds to the receptors in your body, in your nose, in your nasopharynx, and in your lung. The mutations would strongly suggest that it would be more transmissible and that it might evade some of the protection of monoclonal antibodies and convalescent plasma and perhaps even antibodies that are induced by vaccine. When you diminish or stop or block travel from a particular country, there's a reason for that. It's to give you time to do things. So don't let this decision that was made about blocking the travel from certain countries go without a positive effect. And the positive effect is to get us better prepared, to rev up on the vaccination, to be really ready for something that may not actually be a big deal, but we want to make sure that we're prepared for the worst. If people follow the recommendations of the CDC and all of us about what to do in traveling, in getting vaccinated, in getting boosted, we could have a situation where you do continue to veer towards getting to some degree of normality. It's within our own capability to do that. And that's the thing. We've got to put aside all of these things that are getting in the way of good public health practices. This is not rocket science. We know exactly what we can do.
It is not rocket science. I do have to say here, though, that the nations that this administration, the Biden administration, decided to block, as far as the most recent update that I have, do not include all of the nations where the Omicron variant has been found. But it does specifically block travel from African nations, particularly South Africa. There's a problem with that, because if the intention is to stop that variant from getting here to the United States, there are European nations that you need to stop travel to right now, Joe Biden, like right now, today. Don't give people this false sense of security because you're doing a travel ban on these African nations, because the variant was discovered by South African scientists. But I digress. We'll get to that part later on in today's episode. We'll be speaking more about that with Rebecca Azor and James Bubba Williams, DJ Exclusive, during the 9 o'clock Like It or Not hour. I want to go more specifically, though, to this report from Reuters, the discovery of 2 imported cases of a new and possibly vaccine-resistant variant, the Omicron variant in Hong Kong, suggests that the new variant is likely already in international circulation. This is according to Dr. Ben Cowling, an epidemiologist at the University of Hong Kong, and this is a report from Reuters. Let's take a listen in.
The chances are that this virus has traveled to many other parts of the world, and maybe those other places haven't yet realized it or haven't yet recognized it. In Hong Kong, we're doing a lot more testing in travelers. Because of the additional concern about this new variant, it's quite possible that some governments will start to restrict travel from South Africa, maybe other parts of Africa. But I think we have to recognize that most likely this virus is already in other places. And so if we shut the door now, it's going to be probably too late. One of the things that we've noticed in the last maybe 18 months, 2 years, is that travel restrictions can be introduced very quickly, but it's more difficult to see them relaxed again. So I'm a little bit concerned that we may see some countries put on a red list or even a black list. But then when this new variant appears in other parts of the world, and in theory that there's no particularly high risk from South Africa or other African countries, we won't see them taken off the black list or taken off the red list as quickly as they were put on that list. And that's a concern now, almost 2 years into this pandemic.
He's speaking directly to that underlying issue, right? The underlying issue of putting all the emphasis on African nations when, in fact, this variant has been discovered in other nations. There's a discrepancy there that is going to continue to cause this pandemic to be exacerbated. That's the thing. Like, if we're serious about putting an end to this pandemic, then we would not be concerned about the political ramifications of calling for a vaccine mandate and calling for mask mandates and shutting down this country. We're almost 3 years into this pandemic, and it's as if we just began. That's because of the absurdity of this moment, and that's because of the political intransigence and the unwillingness, more and more importantly, the unwillingness to take the necessary political hits to save lives. That's what we're dealing with. COVID-19 did not have to be as bad as it was. At this rate, we will have 1 million Americans dead from COVID-19. Not because we didn't have the science, not because we didn't have the technology, not because we didn't have the capacity to shut this thing down. We did not have the political will to do so. In fact, Donald Trump's will was something totally different. He, along with Republicans, are a death cult doing everything they can. Check Ron DeSantis in Florida. Check Brian Kemp in Georgia. Check Reeves over in Mississippi. These Bible Belt Republicans are doing, or these I-10 Corridor Belt Republicans are doing everything they can to get as many people killed by this pandemic as evidenced by their policies and the outcomes of their policies. But it's not just them. The Biden administration is culpable for all of the deaths that took place underneath his leadership. And if we're not serious enough to shut this thing down, do not give the people a false sense of security by vilifying more black people, Joe Biden. But I digress. Here's a clip of Nancy Mace, who is on Fox News. I need to juxtapose the seriousness of this moment with the complete and total absurdity of the Republican Party. This is Nancy Mace on Fox News suggesting that people should get COVID rather than get vaccinated because, and again, I want to preface this is misinformation. This is false information that we're debunking for all the algorithms that like to penalize us when we debunk misinformation. This is false information, misinformation from Fox News stating that somehow natural immunity is allegedly better than the vaccine immunity. Take a listen then to this moron.
And one of the things that the CDC has not done, and no policymaker at the federal level has done so far, is taken into account what natural immunity does. And that may be what we're seeing in Florida today. In some studies that I've read, natural immunity gives you 27 times more protection against future COVID infection than a vaccination. And so we need to take all of the science into account and not selectively choosing what science to follow when we are making policy decisions. And you're seeing, I believe, Governor DeSantis is, seeing the fruit of that labor today.
61,000 people are dead in the state of Florida. He is certainly seeing the fruits of his labor, his concerted efforts to be the most ridiculous governor in this pandemic. Ron DeSantis will go down as the governor who did everything he could to kill as many people as he could, 61,000. I think that must be the record that she's talking about. That must be the performance, because I know she cannot be serious about her suggestion that you should get COVID-19 in order to protect yourself from COVID-19. These people are morons. They deserve none of our respect. They deserve no respect. In fact, they don't even deserve to be in public. They deserve to be chased out of the public's eye into the dregs of society, because we're approaching 1 million people dead, and these half-ass backwards clowns are suggesting that you go and contract COVID-19. See, y'all should not let me do this show by myself, because it's a totally different creature when I'm by myself. These people are dangerous. They're sociopaths with political power and economic power. They have the ability to buy people like Joe Rogan and get him promoting ivermectin on his nationally syndicated $100 million podcast. They get Fox News to do their bidding and talk more about horse dewormer than the vaccine. And they want our respect. No, you not only don't get our respect, you don't get our silence. You don't get our concern. You don't get our compassion. Not when you're actively using all of those tools to get more people killed. Miss us with that. Here's another clip. This is Anthony Fauci discussing Ted Cruz, who is calling for Anthony Fauci to be prosecuted. Ted Cruz, who did not have enough backbone to stand up to Donald Trump when he called his wife ugly, actually has something to say. Let's take a listen to Anthony Fauci's response to that.
Senator Cruz told the Attorney General you should be prosecuted.
Yeah. I have to laugh at that. I should be prosecuted. What happened on January 6th, Senator?
Do you think that this is about making you a scapegoat to deflect from President Trump?
Of course. You have to be asleep not to figure that one out.
Well, there are a lot of Republican senators taking aim at this. I mean,
that's okay. I'm just going to do my job. And I'm going to be saving lives, and they're going to be lying. So anybody who spends lies and threatens and all that theater that goes on with some of the investigations and the congressional committees and the Rand Pauls and all that other nonsense, that's noise, Margaret. That's noise.
That's noise. That's noise. The lines are open. The phone lines are open. We want your input. We have Eric from Vermont on the line. Eric, good morning. What's on your mind?
Nothing much, Ben. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loudly and clearly, my friend.
Can you hear me, Ben?
Yeah, yeah. What's on your mind?
Nice, man. Big fan of the show. You think with all this Omicron and everything, do you foresee, I got two questions. Do you foresee any future shutdowns happening, or will politicians just keep politicking and try to force people to make money? That's my first question. And then my second question is, Bubba, your DJ.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Does he battle? Because I'm a DJ too.
I tell you what, you're going to have to call back in about 9 minutes when he gets in and ask him about the battling. I don't know. I will ask him. To your first question, though, I hope we shut this down. I hope that we get some political leadership that actually does not care about popularity. I mean, honestly, Joe Biden and Eric, thanks so much for that call. This is how I'm going to answer it. Joe Biden, your popularity is somewhere around 30%, somewhere low. Why are we hesitating on doing the unpopular thing that is the necessary thing to save lives? It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. At this juncture, with the popularity as low as the president and the vice president currently have, the politically astute thing to do is to do what's necessary to save as many lives as possible. Thanks for that call. The lines are open, 301-715-8592. The user ID is inside of all of the chat rooms, and we want to get your input on it. I have another clip. I want to keep this conversation going because of the absurdity of it. This is a tweet, actually. This is a tweet from Dr. Ronnie Jackson. He's previously Donald Trump's chief medical advisor. And this is what he's saying. He says, here comes the MEV, the midterm election variant. They need a reason to push unsolicited nationwide mail-in ballots. Democrats would do anything to cheat during an election, but we're not going to let them. This is the absurdity of the moment. 750,000 plus are dead. At this pace, we will see, and that's only in the United States. At this pace, we will get to 1 million in the United States dead from COVID-19 all along. And all along, rather, it would have been because of leaders like Ronnie Jackson, governors like Ron DeSantis, news station outlets or entertainment complexes like Fox News, podcasters like Joe Rogan, useful idiots like Jimmy Dore and Glenn Greenwald, and all the rest of the people who are making this conversation about whether or not ivermectin is actually horse dewormer. Not whether or not ivermectin is effective against the pandemic, as effective as the vaccine. No, you have all of these people who are Tucker Carlson lined up to make this issue more about the specific definition of ivermectin. And oh, by the way, did you know there are people profiting off of that right now? All of this happening in the backdrop of thousands of people dying every other day. And it's almost as if we're just getting started because none of our leadership has shown a willingness to do what is necessary to get us out of this. 301-715-8592 if you want to join the conversation. I want to shift gears to Brunswick, Georgia, where we did get a semblance of justice in the trial of the three men, the McMichaels, who lynched Ahmaud Arbery. I have a summary. This is from ABC News, giving us a brief summary of the verdict. But I also want you to really consider whether or not you believed they would be found guilty. Let's take a listen in.
The jury finding Travis McMichael guilty on all charges. His father, Gregory McMichael, guilty on all but one charge, malice murder. And William Roddy Bryan Jr. guilty on all but 3 charges. And this was the scene outside that courthouse in Brunswick, Georgia. Cheers erupting as that verdict was read. Nearly all white, only one black person on that jury, but at the end they found those men guilty.
All that's been made about the makeup, just the one lone black juror coming to the same conclusion that they say should have been the verdict in this case from the get-go. That malice murder charge against Travis McMichael, felony murder against all 3 of those defendants, Gregory and William Roddy Bryan, among other charges that they were also found guilty of. When we got word of that jury verdict being reached, after lunch, the excitement, people crowding the courthouse steps behind me, and you saw it whenever the judge read out that first guilty verdict against Travis McMichael for the first count of malice murder. Ahmaud Arbery's father, Marcus Arbery, inside the courtroom, letting out that cheer. Outside, it was just as loud, if not louder. We could hear it from our position here.
Count 1, malice murder. we, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. I'm going to ask that whoever just made an outburst be removed from the court, please.
Found guilty, Travis McMichael found guilty on all 9 counts. His father found guilty on 8 counts. And Brian, William Rhodey Bryan, found guilty on 6 of the 9 counts. I wasn't sure we were going to get justice. And in fact, we must properly define justice. As my friend and friend of the show, Anona Changa, says it, true justice is not killing us in the first place. I didn't believe we were going to get accountability because of what happened in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. This country, particularly the right-wing white supremacist faction in this country, is on a direct course with doing everything they possibly can do, everything they possibly can do to get away with murder, to be able to shoot someone in this country and not be charged. And we're seeing cases like this replicate itself across the country where people are literally getting killed and the cops are not arresting anyone. This is what Ted Cruz is pushing for. This is what Republicans across this country are pushing for. They are pushing for you, not you, white conservatives. Because let's be sure, a black conservative would not get away with murder the way Kyle Rittenhouse did. We are dealing with a faction in this country that is doing everything that they can to be able to get away with killing people they politically disagree with. That's the crux of it. And so, no, I was not sure. I stood there and I listened and I waited because I was not confident that we would actually get accountability in this trial. But I'm grateful, along with everyone else. And you can see the expression of Ahmaud Arbery's mother, the sense of relief that her son would have some sense of justice. And we're pushing for a day where we don't have to only seek justice in a courtroom. We can have a just and equitable society where they will not kill us in the first place. And a society where we are not looked at as if we are ridiculous because we're demanding that the system stops killing us. And a society that would take life seriously enough to not play around with it during a pandemic. Listen, we have a whole lot more coming up. Dr. Carl Mack is here. He's going to be joining us in the next half hour. We're going to be discussing December 6th, the significance and the future of that day for black people, coming up during the Benjamin Dixon Show at 8:30. At 9 o'clock, Rebecca Azor and DJ Exclusive will be joining us. In fact, DJ Exclusive might already be in the building. We'll be back with more of the Benjamin Dixon Show right after this.
Good morning, people. Y'all know the voice, y'all know the sound. It's the boy, DJ Exclusive James. Bubba Mac DJ Exclusive. Who the hell is DJ Exclusive? I don't know who that is. Dwayne, you know who that is? Good morning, everybody. Good morning, y'all. Come on in. Get situated. Get settled. Get your coffee. Get your drink. Whatever it is you need to get your morning started. DJ Exclusive is in the building.
Get on with it. Come on, get on with it. Come on, get on with it. Come on, get on with it. It's what I say.
Good morning, Nicole Johnson, One Source Productions, Brother Chuck Diesel.
It's what I say.
Hollywood Diesel. Krista Lionheart, good morning. Ryan, good morning. G-Man, Sim City Socialist, Irish Jones. Tiger, what's going on? Church Lady Shelby Hall, good morning, y'all. I see y'all here. Shoot the Dragon, Muffin Stuff. Mark S, what's going on? Tyler, what's going on, Brother Tyler? Angela Newman, Nikki Cruz, thank you for your super chat. Being going off this morning. Peace to the family. Amen to that. Melanie Dennis, Amber G, good morning, everybody. KFC, what's going on, brother? Y'all come on in and get situated, get settled, man. Afraid Not, what's going on? One Lost Spirit. What's going on, man? Good to see everybody this morning. I hope y'all had a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend, holiday, and everything else. Hope y'all ate good and all that good stuff, man. Watch some good TV. Got some Black Friday shopping done. All of that good stuff, man. Y'all come on in and get seats with y'all. Good morning, the Benjamin Dixon Show, y'all. Stay tuned. Lily, good morning. Track Natasha. Roller Dragon, what's going on? A.R. Walker. Deb, what's going on? Kareem. Dragon Ball, super dope. Good morning. Happy belated birthday to church lady. Brenda Johnson, good morning. F8L Flaw Dragon, good morning. Patty P, good morning, Patty. Sonny Wright, what's going on? Ricky, good morning, y'all. Y'all stay tuned, man. We got more coming up next. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. Amber Layla, good morning, Amber. Hey, Miss Sophia, good morning. Susan, good morning to you, Susan.
Stepping on next, little baddie, cashing big checks. I bought the whole block out. Now that's a
Nicole
big
Johnson, why are you jealous, Nicole?
Window, like what's next? Got new levels and new devils out the wazoo. Ain't no worries, life gets better when you find you. And if you mind you, peace will abide.
Esther Brochen, good morning.
Time to start anew. So live it up, we grown, ain't got no curfew. Who brought the big
Ricky, good morning to you. Stephanie Rampton, good morning.
That's a bitch move. First that I arrive, now that I survive. All your sad attempts to send me to the sky. But I've been in the wind, been had wings, I was always this fly. Oh yes, and that's probably why you're mad. Don't let Evie turn you into a trash bag. So get glad, find out why you sad. All that jealousy, you should
Tasia, good morning.
I think it's time to turn that mirror on you. Put it up close for a clear view. And look deep down inside. And soon you will find a pretty soul that needs more shine.
Nicole Johnson, you know I still love you.
Let's come together, and maybe I just wanna let it shine.
Brother Lateef, what's going on, Lateef?
No good or better. I think tonight I'm gonna make it mine. 1, 2, mean right hook. Come and test me, my mom deep will have
Vegeta, good morning.
It's a marathon, but baby girl, never
Vegeta.
let up. No need for
Goku.
speed, but keep your foot up on the gas pedal. Ain't worried
That's
about
crazy.
the golden award. When God made me to be an ice cold medal. Why are you always pressed about my life? Talking with your frenemies about me, saying, ooh, girl, have you seen it like the shine lights? You tried, but you could never dim my light.
Shoot the dragons, go to sleep.
I'm untouchable girl. I'll slip through your fingers like a real fly kite. Why you wanna
Brother Lateef, I realized this morning that I was out of coffee.
Take that bad energy and go and get your mind right. Say a prayer tonight.
That's gonna be a long one, but it's okay. We're gonna make it through.
You in the big
Definitely gotta make sure I get my ass some coffee though today.
That drama. I put the work in. Now I got the big bags that you call Birkin.
It get a 9. What's going on?
My world has come together. And maybe
Church lady, I got you. I did get a chance to hear some of it.
there is no
One Such Productions, right? Cancel everything. I have no coffee. The whole canister is completely empty. I'll be brewing brown water right now from the grinds I slept probably from last week. Who knows? It and I missed you as well too, man. I think we are ready to come back. The song had ran out on me. Look at that. Are we ready to go? Dwayne, do I need to play the song? All right, y'all go ahead and roll that intro, y'all. Y'all welcome back to the screen, my brother from another mother, Benjamin Dixon, y'all. Let's get it. Let's go. The Benjamin Dixon Show.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. It is Monday, November 29th, 2021, and we are joined on the screen by none other than our long-lost brother from another mother, Dr. Carl Mack. How you doing, man?
Dr. Mack!
I'm cool in the gang. DJ Ben, how are you, my brothers?
Looking like Sergio Brazilianac. I can't remember the man name, but y'all know what I'm talking about.
Looking like a young man with a... He look a little bit like Guy Fawkes with a mustache. Look like a little remember the 8th of November or whatever it is.
Right.
But DJ Exclusive, how you doing, man? Thanks for holding it down on that break for us. I hope both of y'all had a good holiday. Did everybody eat good? Brother Mack, I know I don't know if you've been eating good. I know you've been working out good.
Yeah, man, listen, I've been going through my transformation of working out, and my mother just absolutely she made it difficult for me, man. You know, she always sends me a package from Honey Baked Ham, and I begged. I said, Mama, look, you want to send the ham, you want to send the turkey, cool in the game. But please, Mama, don't send the pecan pies, don't send the coffee cake. What does she do? She sends me a blueberry coffee cake. And man, that devil was screaming. I'd be asleep, man. I hear her whispering in my ear, Carl, come to the bite, come to the bite. So I done ate the whole damn coffee cake, man. I had to get up and just doing my workout. So I'm back in the basement and trying to get it up the wall.
Funny thing happened, James. Like me and Brother Mack, we talk pretty regularly. At least we try to. And Brother Mack, he sends me updates on his progress, like how he's doing. Showing me. So he sent me this picture, this text, and my wife was sitting right there. He sent this picture of him with his shirt off and all. Like he ain't got a 6-pack, he got like a 19-pack. Like it's uneven. He got like 10 on one side, 9 on the other side. And my wife was like, you should ask him about his meal plan.
She didn't mean no disrespect, Ben. She was just saying.
Nah. It's okay. I wanted to be like Brother Mack when I grow up. I want to have a calendar. I want to have a Black History calendar that is so thorough that it actually predicts the future, which is, Brother Mack, I know we're going to have you back on a regular basis. You're part of the morning show, period. But you have initiated a movement on something that I think we should talk about specifically, December 6th. Set it up for us.
Well, Ben, and thank you so much, for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. But when I produced the 4th version of Black Heritage Day 4 on December, and every day in that calendar is germane to that day, with the exception of just one day, and that's December 5th, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But from a historical perspective, let's go back to Juneteenth, when we saw this nation make Juneteenth a national holiday. And part of my problem with that is not the problem of celebrating the freedom of our people, but the mythology, the myth and the lie and the ignorance of our history is what just had me in a tizzy. Because again, let's go back and revisit. Lincoln signs the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863. Then the lie that's being told around Juneteenth is that those of our ancestors in Galveston, Texas, didn't get the word for 2.5 years. Well, Ben, just stop. You and DJ, just stop for a minute. And just imagine that they got the word on January 1st, 1863, because trust and believe, Black folks all over the country knew that Lincoln had signed the Emancipation Proclamation. That's why on December 1st in the calendar, you see a page I call Watch Night. And what Watch Night is that on December 31st, 1862, our ancestors gathered And if you ever go to church on December 31st, they call that service watch night. Now, historically, where that came from is that our ancestors were waiting in churches. We had gathered and we were praying, please, God, just tell us that Lincoln is truly going to sign this Emancipation Proclamation, which he did. So we all knew that happened. So now the myth, the lie is that the people in Galveston didn't get the word for 2.5 years later. No, Ben, they got the word right then and there. But what were they going to do? They were going to go to the slave owners in Texas and say, hey, Lincoln just got the Emancipation Proclamation. We're free. Keep in mind, Texas, along with 11 other slave states, had left the Union. They had formed their own nation. They had their own constitution. They elected their own president, Jefferson Davis, their own vice president, Alexander Stephens of Georgia. So whatever Lincoln said didn't matter to them. But the Emancipation Proclamation was this executive order. So now let's go back to Juneteenth. The Civil War ends, and now the word is that they got the word 2.5 years late. Well, we just talked about why that means nothing. Now, the other thing that's said is that these were the last Blacks that were enslaved. So all of this lure leads to why Juneteenth is so very, very special. When in fact, every day of the Civil War that our ancestors got freedom was a liberation day.
Right.
But as far as them being the last Blacks enslaved, if you go back to history, there were 4 states that were slave states that never left the Union: Maryland, Missouri, Kentucky, and Delaware. Now, when Virginia seceded from the Union, there were 48 counties in the western part of the state that said, look, we're down with slavery, but we're not for this secession from the Union. So those 48 states applied for statehood, and they became a state. So when West Virginia became the 5th border state, it too was a slave state. So now, before the Civil War ends, 3 of those states, through their state legislation, ends slavery. West Virginia ended slavery, Maryland and Missouri, but Kentucky and Delaware never, ever ended slavery. And they were protected by the Constitution. So Lincoln understood that if we were going to end chattel slavery in this country, it had to be a constitutional amendment. So after June 19th, when the lie is that these were the last Blacks enslaved, so if you pull up December 6th, I want you to pull that page up so you can follow along with me. If you pull up December 6th and look at it, you got to remember that Kentucky and Delaware, who never seceded from the Union, who were protected, the institution of slavery was protected. So slavery was still legal after June 19th, 1865, after Juneteenth. And in the state of Delaware, there was maybe 2,000 at best of our ancestors still enslaved. But if Black Lives Matter, those 2,000 lives matter. But in the state of Kentucky, there were over 250,000 Black folks still enslaved after June 19th. So they didn't get a chance. Chattel slavery ended in this country with the passage of the proposal that became the 13th Amendment on December 6, 1865. Now, after the Civil War, there were 36 states. And according to your civics lesson, you need 3/4 of those states to ratify any proposal in order for it to become an amendment.
That's right.
Georgia became the 27th state on December 6th, 1865, to ratify the proposal that ended chattel slavery for all in this country. So forever and ever and ever, chattel slavery now became illegal. So in my mind, from a historical perspective, if there's going to be a day where we celebrate Black freedom, freedom for all, it just makes sense to me that it's December 6th. So in the calendar, as you see at the bottom in the calendar, I said, if ever there should be a day to celebrate Black freedom, without question, historically, it should be December 6th. But now, because we're in the midst of the holiday and we're always talking about the spending power of Black folks, and if you go back to 2019, they estimated that the spending power of Black folks in 2019 was about $1.4 trillion. So I'm saying what I've decided to do is that in honor of remembering the end of chattel slavery and freedom for all of us from chattel slavery, I am going to make December 6th an economic day as well. So it's Black Freedom and Economic Day. And on that day, I would not spend 1 penny with any other culture outside of our community. On December 6th. That's right. Black freedom. That's right. For the reason we just said, and Black economics. If we want to celebrate that, I mean, you're outspending money anyway. We're always talking about self-help. So why not on one day, on that day, that's the only day I'm begging you, in remembrance of Black freedom, spend only with the Black-owned business. If you need gas, get gas on December 5th or get it on December 7th, unless you go to a Black-owned gas station. But under no circumstances.
And that's the thing.
Yes, under no circumstances.
That's what I was going to say. Go ahead, Brother Mack. Sorry.
Anybody. I'm not spending money with anybody outside of a Black-owned business.
I was just going to say, I don't know many Black-owned gas stations. And so, yeah, you're right. I'm going to have to get my gas the night before or the day afterwards. So we're talking with Dr. Carl Mack, part of the show. I like to say friend of the show for everybody, but Brother Mack, Dr. Mack is a part of the show. And he's discussing not only his Black Heritage Days calendar, but he's talking specifically about December 6th, which is coming up next week, and that being the day that we should celebrate the end of chattel slavery when the 13th Amendment was ratified. Brother Mack, I'm all for another holiday. I was just thinking last week that we needed something that was specifically focused on, I mean, in my mind, I was saying like liberation, but you know, the specific components of liberation, like you said, is Black economic freedom and freedom and economics. So thank you for this. And yeah, I did it.
And you know, Ben, people ask me when I've spoken to people in my circle, and when you and I had the conversation, you asked me, you know, Brother Mack, we should move to make this a national holiday. And in fact, I could care less if it's a national holiday. I want people to understand two things about movements. Some people are martyrs and some people are mercenaries. People who are mercenaries do it just because they're getting paid to do it. A person who is a martyr does it because they believe in it. I could care less if America embraces Black Economic and Freedom Day. America can't tell me how to spend my money. I don't need America to approve this as a national holiday so that I can now go support Black-owned businesses. I could care less if they do it, but trust and believe America is going to care if we as a collective do this.
That's
because
right. That's right.
Again, I remember when rap music came out. C. Dolores Tucker, good sister, departed, along with a whole bunch of other folks, present company included. I had a disdain for rap music. I thought it was vulgar. I thought it was awful. I didn't see the artistic genius of these of our young artists. And so America just absolutely opposed rap music. Now today, there ain't a product being sold in which they ain't using our music. So we have to embrace our culture, embrace our history, see the beauty and the genius of it, and don't allow anybody else to define what our culture is. And the same with our money. I don't need America to embrace December 6th as a national holiday to tell me, hey, Carl, maybe you ought to spend money with a Black-owned business. No, if ever there is a more appropriate day for us to do this, and of course we should do it more than one day. But if there is one day, you're in that holiday spirit, you're going to spend money.
That's right.
But this day, let us remember that this is the day, because if you go back and talk to most Black folks about our history, now, as little as we may know, the one thing that all of us collectively know is that we were enslaved. And so on that day, when chattel slavery finally ended, December 6th, let that be a day that we remember this dreaded, inhumane institution coming to an end when all of us were free. And now to celebrate it, let us spend some of that money with Black-owned businesses only.
I was just getting ready to say, when I asked Brother Mack, I was like, yeah, man, we need to get this, make it a federal holiday. Brother Mack was like, I don't give a damn if the government ever recognizes it. And I feel that. I honestly feel that sentiment. But I also, I'm trying to get some folks some extra days off. So while we'll be focusing on it from the moral perspective, and the case that you made is absolutely right, and I actually love it. It's in the holiday season, and it's not just us. We'll spend our money with ourselves, but all these white allies. spend money with black businesses on that day. And so I'm still going to move to try to get it to be a federal holiday in the long run, because I want them to be good and off work when they come spend all that money in the black community.
But, I would ask this directly. Brother DJ and Brother Ben and Dwayne and David, I want to ask you all, even if it's just us as brothers, let us only spend money on December 6th with a black-owned company. Let us remember on that day that was the day that this horrible institution was ended. This institution known as chattel slavery was ended.
All right. I'm with it. I'm with it. That's what I'm going to do.
Right.
I'm asking for your commitment on that particular day on December.
You got mine. You got my commitment. And
mine too.
We're going to start. That's right. We're going to start pushing it on the show every chance that we get. And I'm looking forward to the future of this date because we need it. We need this as a day of unification around our liberation. So, Brother Mack, as always. Now, we're getting ready to take a break. Before we do, though, man, how have you been? The audience is in the chat room. They hearing what you're saying. They're buying in, and they're going to be committed. They want to know how you been, though.
Right. They're going crazy for you, Dr. Mack.
I tell you what, Ben, I'm going to give you permission to put my transformation picture up so that people understand.
Oh, shit. Shoot.
No. You got to say shit on that one. Hang on. Go to a break. Because I got to go find my phone. Because I want y'all to see the kind of mess this man sent me.
Make sure you put it in the Slack group. No, just playing. Okay, no, I actually asked the callers to hold, because actually I don't even know where my phone is. I'm going to go grab my phone from my wife. We're going to take a quick break. Brother Mack, when we come back, we're going to look at your transformation pictures, and then I guarantee you we're going to have 1 million subscribers before the day is out. We'll be back.
Ben,
let's get it.
It's when we come back, Ben. I remember you asked me, so Brother Mack, December 6th would be in lieu of reparations. And I said, oh, no. So I want to also talk about reparations.
We'll come back and talk about reparations. December 5th, reparations. We'll be back right after this. DJ Exclusive is in your hands.
Monique Oman says she is OMG, am waiting thirstily. The thirst, y'all. Y'all is so terrible. I can't believe y'all. Y'all so thirsty this morning.
You can't break my
y'all, good morning, y'all. Good morning. Make sure y'all stay tuned, man. We got more coming up next, y'all. Good morning, Mom and Daddy. I see y'all in the chat down there.
Got me started. Every day is just the beginning. Take it to the bank, now I'm winning. Oh. Call me crazy, tell me lies. It won't stop me, watch me rise. No more anchors holding me down. Now all I need is more. One more hour, one more minute, one more chance for me to win it. Yeah, I
Sylvia Jones, good morning.
I do, I catch it. I know how to make it happen. One more. Climbing every mountain. Keep both eyes on the top. Nothing's gonna tell me to stop.
Nicole House, that's great of you, man. Don't worry at all. Because what you give out comes back tenfold, okay?
So call me crazy, tell me lies. It won't stop me, watch me rise. No more anchors holding me down. 'Cause all I need is more. One more hour, one more minute, one more chance for me to win it. Every time I do,
Ear Hustler, good morning.
How to make it happen. One more.
Brother Bryce, what's going on? Goku, good morning.
All I need is more.
I need some water, some coffee, Dwayne. What's going on?
All I need is
Well, damn. Man, I am working. I'm supposed to be working over here. Shit. Oh, okay. Y'all welcome back. My brother from another mother, Benjamin Dixon, and Dr. Mack.
There's no proper way to set this up. Just like these are the, now I'm gonna be honest with you. These are the G-rated pictures. Brother Mack, tell us about what we're looking at.
Oh man, you know, when I was growing up, was thin and wanted to put on a little weight, so I started working out. So, you know, these were my 8s. You know, I'm 59 and a half now. So I looked at a picture when I was 18, looked at a picture when I was 28, and then I went through a transformation at 50.
Let me go look at the chat room. Let's go see how crazy the chat room going.
After COVID, you know, or during COVID, I put on some weight. So I was looking at it and saying, oh my God. So that was me at 57 and 58. And so as a result of COVID, I put on some weight, and I said, God, Carl, you got to just muster up the energy to do it again. But I was at 59, you know, my body, in my 50s, my body was having trouble getting going, but I stayed with it.
I got to introduce you, before you go to the next one, I got to introduce the next one, because this is the one he sent me, and my wife was sitting there. I'm like, bro, Mack, come on, man. It's like, I'm already shooting above my pay grade. You can't be sending me stuff like this. Run the next one.
Yeah. Oh, where Rebecca at? I'm glad he and Dwayne ain't even put it up yet.
Well, you know what? It's about. Go ahead, bro. Back.
No, so, you know, just a big part of it was, you know, I just started hitting the gym and started watching my diet a little bit and just kept grinding away, and there you go. So that was I took the transformation picture probably about a week ago. So that was before the coffee cake hit me. So I got to work that coffee cake off now.
But honest, on some real stuff though, Dr. Mack, for 59 years old,
it's crazy,
freaking amazing, my gosh,
crazy
man, you look freaking amazing, Dr. Mack, for real, amazing.
Oh man, you know, it could be done. So, you know, I had a lot of brothers, you know, some of the brothers that I play golf with, you know, they were asking me about working out, and when I showed them the photo, you know, they didn't know I was working out like that, but when I showed them, and all of a sudden they got real inspired by it. And so, you know, it's, you know, that was more of anything, just to show our people, even in this day and time where obesity is running wild, you know, you can modify your lifestyle. And
what are you talking about? Obesity running wild? What do you mean? I don't know anything about that.
Okay, look, like what?
You know, we can all tune up. I just need to get some tuning up going on. That's all.
Hey, what's your sit-up regimen? Like when you doing your ab routine, what are you doing?
You know, I do V-ups, crunches, bicycle, flutter kicks. I got about 10 different exercises I do. I do like 5 exercises, 5 different exercises at least twice a week. And
when can you come to Atlanta? That's what I want to know. Cause I want to make a bet with you that I might take some money off your hands. But we're going to talk about it offline first. I'm smart enough to talk about it offline first. That said, what's the rest of your schedule looking like for the rest of the day? We just wanted to come back and do that. And we also want to talk about the December 5th. When we talked yesterday about December 6th as the Black Freedom and Economic Day, I said that is a good way for us to siphon off money from the economy directly to the black community. And in my mind, I'm like, while we're waiting on this government to pay what owe us, this could be a good form of reparations. You immediately said, no, that's not the case, because December 5th is the case for reparations. Tell us about it.
So, you know, again, when you talk about reparations, that means to repair based on the damage that you've done. And the United Nations has sanctioned, you know, you bring the case before the United Nations, and the United Nations agrees to it. And reparations is nothing new. You know, obviously we know about the reparations that that the Jews got because of the Holocaust. We know about reparations from the Aborigines in Australia. We know about reparations with Japanese Americans, not only in this country, but also in Canada. But when you ask the question, for 200 plus years of slavery, why is it that a case cannot be made for African Americans to receive reparations? And so the argument, and I've listened to arguments for 30 years about it, and they've always had these very subjective arguments to it. And one of the counter arguments is that nobody who is a slave owner is still alive, nor a direct descendant of slave owners is still alive. Nobody who was a slave is still alive. Nobody who was a direct descendant of a slave is still alive. So why should anybody today pay anybody today for what happened and ended over 150 years ago?
That's what they say.
And then they come back and say, so if you can find an entity that was a benefactor of slavery yesterday, and that entity is still around today, then a case could be made. Well, I have several. One is if anybody, I want you, the listening audience, go to Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution of the United States. And it says something like this. It says the migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now exist and shall think proper to admit should not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808. But a tax or a duty may be imposed on such importation not exceeding $10 for each person. Now, that's in the Constitution of the United States. Now, the reason they used the word migration is because they were trying to be ambiguous. They wanted to hide what they were really taxing. But if you go down further in that amendment, you'll see that they said, but tax shall be imposed for such importation. Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution is talking about the slave trade. The entity, and keep in mind, the Constitution went into effect in 1788. And what Article 1, Section 9 said was for any of the states that were existing, those 13 states, for the next 20 years, you can import as many slaves to this country as you want to. And the government will tax $10. The government, is that same government alive today? Absolutely. That's right. So that government, the United States government, was a direct benefactor of slavery.
That's right.
They collected a tax of up to $10 for every slave that was brought to the country. So now somebody is going to say, well, Brother Mack, they said up to $10. Well, no, we're going to charge you $10 for punitive damages because you never should have been involved in such an inhumane institution. That's one case for reparations. Now, the other one that I'd like you to take a look at is the Mississippi Letter of Secession. If you look at the letters of secession in every one of the 11 states that seceded from the Union, they wrote a letter trying to tell the world why they were leaving the Union. The state of Mississippi, in their letter of secession, made it plain and clear that the reason why they were leaving the Union is because they wanted to protect their institution of slavery. And in 1861, they valued African slavery at $4 billion. That's what they wrote in their letter. Now, I want you to ask, Ben, what number comes after a trillion?
Did you say a trillion and one?
Right, but I'm saying, I don't know what value comes after a trillion, right? In 1861, who knew what $1 billion was? And the state of Mississippi said that slavery to the state of Mississippi was worth $4 billion. Now, in a simple math, family, there were 11 slave states that seceded from the Union. There was another 5. So we're talking 16 slave states. So just multiply 16 times 4 billion. And that gives you a number. And that ain't even including inflation. So when we add inflation to it, you just can do the simple math. You know, if you add inflation, 1.9% times 4 billion times 16. You come up with the number. Now, the third case for reparations is this. I want you to keep in mind that this country actually paid white slave owners reparations. In D.C., in Washington, D.C., in the District of Columbia, this government paid white slave owners reparations to give up their slaves. So ask yourself, how in the name of anything that makes sense is that you can give the oppressor reparations, but the oppressed It's a debatable issue. It's insane. And the only reason we're not making these more objective arguments for reparations is because, again, we lacked the academic knowledge of our history. And that is the most beautiful aspect of history, is that history allows you to think critically. And so all I did was just started going through and researching history. And when I came across these things, I'm like, oh my God, here's my argument for reparation. So again, the more that we study our history, the more we be able to make these very serious arguments. And I look at these committees that go before these Senate subcommittees that go in and talk about reparations. And every time they bring people in, they start making these subjective arguments. Well, the one document that America says that she absolutely adores is the Constitution of the United States. And the beautiful thing about the Constitution, it can never be erased. It can only be amended. And right there in Article 1, Section 9 of the United States Constitution is America's sin that will forever be remembered. And that document is part of our case for reparation, along with the letters of secession in which Southern states placed a value on us. So when people start saying, well, what value would you start with? Well, according to the state of Mississippi in 1861, we were worth $4 billion. So as I said, the math is pretty simple. Do 4 billion times 16, add inflation to it, and we got ourselves one pot of money.
So the government needs to write us our check on December 5th of every year, and all of our white allies should write us their checks on December 6th on Black Economic and Freedom Day. Brother Dr. Carl Mack, I want you to talk to one caller with us before we let you get out of here. Tiger is a regular supporter. Tiger is on the line. What's on your mind, Tiger?
The only thing I have on my mind here is, Dr. Mack, we need to get you in front of Congress immediately. Immediately. Because you have laid out...
Tiger, so when he finishes his question, if you could tell me the question, then I'll go ahead and answer.
I am off of mute. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me or not. Okay, there we go. The only thing I have to say to you, Dr. Carl Mack, is we need to get you in front of Congress immediately. Immediately. Because you have laid out the best argument and case for reparations that I have ever seen. Way back when I heard you lay it out the first time, it absolutely blew my mind. I had to stop what I was doing and add this stuff up while you were laying it out. And it all makes absolute sense. Absolute sense. And the way that you said that that there is an institution that is still profiting off of this, yes, the government is here. And they have profited off of the fact of the original sin of slavery. So the fact of the matter is, maybe they've already figured this out. Maybe they already know. Oh, maybe they know, and they're just like, no, we can't do that because, like, what about the poor white folks out there? No, they don't, because the poor white folks, they already got the reparations. We ain't. So
thanks for the call, Tiger.
Yeah, no problem.
Go ahead, get that. Brother Mack, I want you to respond to that. Hold on one second for me, brother. Yeah, hold on a second for me, Tiger, because you're saying a whole lot there that I want to give Brother Mack a chance to give some feedback on.
Well, Tiger, first of all, thank you so very much. And again, this is what our history reveals to us. Again, Brother Malcolm said, of all of our studies, history is best qualified to reward our research. When you find that you have a problem, all you have to do is study the historical methods of people with problems like yours. When you find out how they solve theirs, you'll learn how to solve yours. So these lessons, it's not that I went looking for an answer to reparations. It's just that the more I got involved in studying our experience in this country and saw what this country was doing, you could see the hypocrisy of the democracy. And history laid out a very clear answer. And I'm so glad, Brother Tiger, and I so appreciate your words of appreciation, that it made sense to you, because that is how simple it is. And when I've listened to these people who have gone before the Senate subcommittees, again, nobody is touching on these very objective documents.
That's right.
The Constitution. That is an objective document. The letter of secession from Mississippi, that is an objective document. What they did in D.C., they got the historical documents of what they paid every slave owner. These things are not debatable. And so when you put these types of things, and I would tell you this, Cory Booker, Senator Booker, I reached out to a member of his staff because Senator Booker was the one leading this effort to bring this Senate subcommittee together. And when I spoke to one of his people about my arguments, the sister was more interested in who the hell was I and how is it that she had never heard this argument before. And I needed to say to her, sister, just dismiss the messenger and let's just pay close attention to the message. So I long for the day when I can sit before Congress and say to them, if you want to tell me that you value this Constitution so much, if you want to tell me that you know that it was wrong, then if you know it was wrong, time is not your ally to say it's been so much time that has passed. Look at all of these 16 states in this country that benefited on the backs of free labor. Look at what this country benefited from free labor. It is time for America to own up to it. They made Germany do it. Australia did it. America, not only did America give Japanese Americans reparations, they gave each person $20,000, but they also offered them a formal apology. So all over the world, these things can happen. But for our Blackness, here's that dismissive attitude that America still has. Well, now history is very clear about what you did. History is very clear about how we can calculate what those damages were, in part because you can't put a value on the number of lives, the number of rape, all of these things that were taken. We can't do that. But to some degree, America and these documents have given us, because see, in the Constitution, I didn't say $10 of tax. The United States Constitution said that. I didn't start with $4 billion. State of Mississippi said that. So we got some numbers.
Brother Mack, let me jump in. There. I want to get one more caller before we go to break. Caller, what is your name, comment, and or question?
Good morning, Ben. It's Roller Dragon.
Hey, Roller Dragon. Thanks for the call. What's on your mind?
Yeah.
Yes. What's on your mind?
Not much. Welcome back, Brother Mack, on the attack and looking like a mofo and snack. Damn. I'm telling you, brother, that was amazing. I'm 52 and I'm disabled, so I'm getting kind of like a pair of chopsticks with a pear stuck on it. So I'm kind of envious of that 67 pack you got going on. There are portions of muscle that men should never ever see, on other men, and you just bear it all. But
I love
now that I got you laughing, here comes the painful part. Here comes the painful part.
Sure.
We also have to take into considerations when you're looking at reparations, all of the massacres that you guys pointed out around the Tulsa anniversary. I went digging. I am horrified by what I found. This happened nationwide, constantly, hundreds of thousands of Black Americans dead because they were actually successful. That has to be brought up. See, the whole thing is the white evangelicals and the white supremacists who actually think they hold power right now aren't scared of critical race theory. They're scared of history with the truth on its side. That's what they're scared of. CRT is just a boogeyman word. We need to be honest. That's something this country has never done. We've never been honest about the Native Americans. I live on the East Coast, and you know what? This was highly populated when we first got here, and there aren't any Native Americans here anymore. Guess what happened to them? They're dead.
Genocide.
And we've never approached that. Chattel slavery, the whole enchilada, everything that goes along with it from the beginning of it all the way through till the Juneteenth lie up to December 6th. This all has to be connected. The dots. And these QAnoners, they love to connect dots that aren't there. There are so many historical and objective documented dots to connect to make this all worthwhile and be honest with each other. We don't want to kill everybody. We just want honesty.
That's right.
That's what I had to say.
Well, first of all,
thanks for the call, man.
You can.
Yes. Thank you so much, and thank you for the compliments. I certainly appreciate it. And your point is very germane. You talk about all the atrocities. Again, I would say to people, please pick up a copy of Black Heritage Day 4. You can get that, and Ben, I hope that we can put it on there. So if you go to www.blackheritagedays.com, you'll be able to order the calendar. But on May 21st in the calendar, and I'm sorry, hopefully you'll be able to see that, there's an entry called Red Summer. And Red Summer talks about exactly, Brother Dragon, what you were talking about. Now, Red Summer was a period of time between the fall of the winter of 1918 and through the fall of 1919. And the number of race riots in this country was astounding. So what we saw with Tulsa, we saw all over the country. And you can go to Rosewood in Florida. So there's these atrocities that you talked about. And they called it Red Summer. That phrase was coined by James Weldon Johnson, who is the author of the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, and was the Black executive director of the NAACP. He was the one that coined it Red Summer because this country ran rapid with red blood that was flowing from Black folks because of the number of race riots that took place during the time from December or the late winter of 1918 up through the early fall of 1919. That period was called Red Summer. And again, you'll be able to get everything that we're talking about: Watch Night, reparations, the 13th Amendment, Red Summer. So much of this is what I have researched and I have in the form of the calendar.
BlackHeritageDays.com, Dr. Carl Mack. Normally, I would not give you an exit to send you because we're trying to get you back on a regular basis. But I do understand you got to continue chiseling that six pack and doing all the things that you've been doing. But we do want everybody to go check out BlackHeritageDays.com. Get the calendar if you haven't already. And we're going to start bringing it back on a regular basis, asking, can we still ask Google what's on the calendar for today?
Absolutely. So if you download the Google Assistant, and so what happened for those who may not remember, when I did the calendar, because every entry is on a day significant to that day, Google was looking for such a document and they had not found. So one of my former students worked at the Google Foundation. When I sent him a copy of the calendar, he forwarded it to Google. And so I entered into an arrangement with Google. So literally every day you can go to the Google Assistant, not Google, but the Google Assistant. And the Google Assistant would be similar to Siri or Alexa. And if you download the Google Assistant, you can ask what happened on this day in Black history. And they'll take a snippet from my calendar and give you exactly what happened on that day. So it's all right.
That's what's up.
So am I
Google
hanging
Assistant.
Out with you? Am I hanging out with you?
We're gonna go. Let's hit a break. If DJ Exclusive is on, we're gonna take a quick break. Rebecca Azores here. We're gonna go. Like it or not, it's getting ready to go down. Brother Carl Mack, hang out there for a second. We'll be back right after this.
Set the sunlight that always stays, dinner by the waterway. It's that sweet life. Raise your cross. Made some dude crack a smile. He asked if I could stay a while. I'm living that high life. Time to catch a flight, but you can make me go. Unlocking all the memories of my new home. Ventilated echoes playing to and fro. To and fro. Back and forth, yeah. Caught some kids dancing in the alleyway. Crazy how the melodies began to play, yeah. Tell me how you feeling when you hear the lyric, yeah. My heart's in Stockholm. Now I never wanna go home.
girl on my Vespa. She said I already told ya, I never dated a black guy. I said you're brown yourself. Let me offer help. Come on inside. Where everybody knows your name, everybody knows your name. Time to catch a flight, but you can make me go. Unlocking all the memories of my new home. Ventilated echoes playing to and fro, back and forth, yeah. Caught some kids dancing in the alleyway. Crazy how the melodies began to play, yeah. Tell me how you feeling when you hear the lyric, yeah. My heart's in Stockholm. Now I never wanna go home. I left my heart in Stockholm. Now I never wanna go home. Somewhere to God. Sunlight that always stays in and by the waterway. It's that sweet life, sweet life, sweet life. I never wanna go home, go home. I'm living in Stockholm, Stockholm. I never wanna go home, go home. Living in Stockholm, Stockholm. I never wanna go home, go home. I'm living in Stockholm, Stockholm. Yeah. Shut up, I got the bed, the bed. We got
Like It or Not with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Rebecca, you got to say good morning.
Hey, return of the Mack. Yes, it is. That's what you're giving me. Good morning, everybody. What's
Good
up?
morning and welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth, Rebecca.
And not care who doesn't like it. Now we can get to it. Why y'all surprised?
Now you can get to the... Go ahead.
This morning, I ain't even know, right? I was looking at the clips on mute. I was like, okay, Return of the Mack. We have Dr. Carl Mack back. He got his stash going, hair laid, you know what I'm saying? I see the little pepper in there. It's nice. And then you guys tell me to scroll up in the chat. I wasn't ready. I thought, okay, these are going to be some other, some photos, looking nice, sharp, dressed to the nines.
You didn't realize you were on OnlyFans. You didn't realize you were on OnlyFans.
That was giving OnlyFans. I thought he was going to be dressed to the nines. There's no dress there. There's nothing dressed there. But it's nice to see that you know what your body can do. It's just to see what your body can do.
What do you say? Milk does a body good, Rebecca?
It's a lot of things. So did you guys put that up on air?
Yeah, no, he said put it up on there. So
that's what I'm talking about, baby.
We can click. We take the clicks however we get them.
Is that why you went missing to get right?
That's exactly why I went missing, Queen. I needed it was a spiritual journey, if you will, on this one.
Yeah. Hey,
COVID had hit me hard. I was looking. I said, "Good Lord, boy, you got to do something." So I just went down and started
It's funny.
Wow.
Rebecca, it's funny how these skinny people, they be like, oh, what Brother Mack. Actually, bring the picture back up so I can show y'all what Brother Mack thought was doing bad in COVID. Because on the left side, everybody's talking about what's on the right. Everybody's looking at the 19 pack that he got on the right. But on the left side is what he was saying was looking bad during COVID. He didn't have a 19 pack, but Brother Mack looked like you were doing just fine.
It was about
during COVID.
It was a keg. It was a keg.
So on the left, he says that was bad. He was doing bad on the left, so he had to get right. And there you go, on the right.
I don't even feel like I should be looking at this photo like this. It's like he's giving me, you know how like the Ken doll has those cuts right in there? How, like, you ain't had it on the first picture and then you just pop out 3 weeks later with this?
Oh, no.
See, this is what men's bodies, I'll say this. See, I got to do about 2 months, you know what I'm saying, just to see something even like make me feel like, oh, okay, yeah. But men just be like, oh, it's go in the gym 1 hour, come out. What?
Brother Mack.
I wish it was that easy.
One of the people in the chat wanted to know, they said you have 10 workouts for your abs. What's your repetition in the chat room? They want to know what's your routine, what's your repetition like?
I do 3 sets of 20s with each one of those 10. So if I do, I'm doing 5 different exercises that day, whichever exercise I'm doing, I'll do a rep of 20, but I do 3 sets of that particular one. So by the end of the workout, it's a tour.
So you too can, get chiseled like that if you do that kind of routine and eat that kind of that regimen. Shout out to you, Mike. Can y'all take that down off the screen? I'm tired of looking at what I don't have. Can you take it off the screen?
What's your eating pattern like? What is it?
So in the mornings, when I come back from my workout, and so when I wake up, I take Jonathan to school, and I'm on the gym floor by 7:15. So I do a workout without having eaten anything. But when I get home from the workout, it's straight to Raisin Brands. And so the reason I eat brands is just so they can keep me regular and flush out all the nonsense. And at dinner, it's not uncommon to eat a salad, and I snack on nuts and granola bars and protein bars and things of that nature. But I stay away from the sweets as best I can. But I will tell you, when Trick or Treat hit and I bought that big bag of candy and I didn't give it all out because of COVID, I found myself introducing myself to a couple of Snicker bars and Kit Kat bars. So, and not hard on the alcohol, and stay away. I don't do fried foods at all. So I'm not strict.
Well, good luck to everybody who's not going to be getting the 6-pack because you like them fried chicken and the greens, beans, potatoes, tomatoes all over the holiday. Rebecca, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was, oh my God, you guys. First of all, I'm going to do the Raisin Bran. I like Raisin Bran, so I can eat that in the morning. We're going to see, okay? We're going to see if I can just cut down off of, alcohol. I do mimosas in the morning, champagne, and I like my my rosé. So I don't know. We're gonna see. But
you doing early morning rosé?
Every day. Now, Thanksgiving was an amazing, I did not know, because I haven't seen them in a year. I haven't been around them in that long. So me being with my family, it was such an emotional roller coaster, because I'm like, dang, all my brothers was there, my mama, my daddy, they were so excited to have us home. They were loving on each other. I was like, ew, y'all know how to do that? Because I didn't even know y'all liked each other like that for real. But us being there really just put some kind of light in the room. Now, not to say that it didn't come with family drama, because, ooh, child, my edges was rolled up, giving me kitchen in the front, kitchen in the back real quick. It was stressing me out. But I really, 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 really just loved seeing us be able to just be together. We went out, because we're from Palm Beach. So we went out to the beaches, because it's up 5 minutes away from the house and stuff. So we went out to the beaches. We had brunch in places that, they wouldn't let us in back in the day. I was a little too young. And then they just never told us that we had access to those things. Listen, we went where them rich white folks was, bought the whole spot out, just chilled, went to another spot that evening, bought the whole spot out just to chill. And our family was like just giving people the energy that they needed. It was just Haitian takeover. And then my daddy, he was like, I'm so happy that you're home. My mom ended up, they cooked like 7 times a day. So my dad, who doesn't cook much, the last time I remember him cooking for me was when my mom had went over to Haiti for like a few weeks for the passing of her father. And he cooked. He tried to do our hair for school. I was like, Daddy, I love the way he did my ponytail. I remember this like it was yesterday. So my dad, all I said was, he's like, Rebecca only eats like shrimp and stuff. I said, no, Dad, I'm back to eating some meats and stuff. I don't really eat red meat like that, but I was like, I just started eating goat, so I really like it. And he was like, okay, say no more. That man went to the store, bought
he went and got a whole goat.
Like, oh my God, like nobody, not a real goat, but no, the people already done killed it, chopped it up, skinned it, all that. Now he done brought that thing home. I went out with my brothers and my sister, and we went out for a second. He texted me, the goat is ready. I hope that you have room in your stomach for it. I was like, oh, okay. Came home. When I say all my family members, we done ate, but we was like, this food was whack. They came home. My dad made a big pot of it, and we effed that food up like nobody's business. It was so good. Then he cooked the next day for my sister. He was like, I made you something special. Chicken feet. We're like, chicken feet? We don't eat that. We never ate that. Ew. He's like, no. But because you guys are here, and I really just want to, from where I'm from in Haiti, I want to give you guys that. I'm glad that you are here. So there are things that I missed out on. I want to show you. So he cooked the chicken feet. When I say all of us down to my nephews, everything. The chicken feet was gone. Okay, I don't even eat that kind of. I don't eat that kind of meat. Y'all killed the chicken feet. We killed the chicken feet. So he did that, and he was like, "I'm so proud that I'm able to do this for you guys, and just be here with you guys and be here for you guys. I know I wasn't the best, but you guys are here now." And I feel the love. He said the pandemic made him so depressed and made him feel like he was just not gonna make it through because he is of an older age. Right. So he just felt like he wasn't gonna be able to see his kids. That's what the pandemic did for people. For me, I was lonely as hell. I missed my family, but I didn't want to be up on them and make them, feel like I'm about to give them COVID. So, but that's what it was doing. Everybody had their share of, depression, sadness, all of that during that, time. And my dad expressed to us, I just felt like I wasn't going to make it through because I felt like I couldn't even leave the house. I felt like I couldn't do anything. In that time, I just felt like, I wasn't going to be able to see you guys again. And it was making me teary-eyed. But it was good to just be with my family. It just was good.
Oh, baby girl, it was good. I know they love to see you. I know that they were happy to see you there. And it's been a long pandemic.
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw your daddy?
A year ago.
A whole year. That's a long time.
Long time.
That's a long time. Yeah.
Both my parents, my mom and my dad. But yeah, it was good to be with my daddy.
Nothing like family. Unfortunately, my father is no longer with us, nor my 2 brothers. So I had an older brother, Bug, and a younger brother, Gold. Unfortunately, neither of them are with us. So it's just me and Mama. So Rebecca, I'm living vicariously through the family gathering that you all had. It sounds so beautiful.
Thank you. It really was. Rare too, but it was nice.
There's so much love on the screen. It's amazing. It really is. Bryce from Philly is on the line. Bryce is one of our longtime supporters. Matter of fact, I think he might have been the very first person to call into my show like 6 years ago. Bryce, what's on your mind today, man? Lots happening in the world. What's on your mind?
Oh, hey, sorry. Hey, what's up, y'all? Rebecca, Dr. Mack, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Good, hey, Bryce, how are you? Look, I remember Bryce. I remember Bryce from our show. So,
that's right.
For sure.
From the Like It or Not. Yeah. What's up, brother?
I'm doing good. So I wanted to, I don't want to bring down the mood, but I do want to say that America, I guess which I was just talking about, I'm not condoning misinformation and all the madness, especially everything with COVID. But I do have to say that America is partly responsible for a lot of these issues. From everything that America has done wrong in It's a long list. We know. I think America needs to take a lot of responsibility for a lot of this. When you're
talking about COVID,
fix some of these. Well, COVID and that just in general, from America not addressing homelessness, wages. People are quitting their jobs. Obviously, we know about slavery. We know about Jim Crow. America's, overseas policies, the military-industrial complex. America's, all the bad that has done has caused a lot of the misinformation, of all the madness. And I'm not condoning that at all. But America has to take a lot of responsibility, because when you don't address the problems, then people aren't going to vote. When you don't address the problem, people are going to go down a bad rabbit hole. When you don't address the problems, these are going to cause the issues. This is why there's such a low vaccination rate, things like that. When you do the things that this country has done since its inception, this is what causes it. This is the problem. And I know we're upset about it. It's not cool, but this is also partly on America. America has blood on its hands. That's just facts. All right. And when you do the things that you do, this is what causes it. Don't get me wrong, we do need to not, fall down any rabbit hole. We need to do what we need to do to get past COVID.
I think I hear you, man.
Everything. Don't get me wrong. But that's how I kind of also feel a little bit back in my mind is America. Yeah. You brought this on yourself doing the things that you've done.
I agree.
Bryce, thank you for that call, Bryce. Brother Mack and Rebecca, love you too. Love you back, man. He's saying so we got a couple issues on the table that we've been talking about this morning, from the Omicron variant. I know we haven't talked about it just yet on Like It or Not, but also the Ahmaud Arbery trial, getting some semblance of justice there. You got the coward. There's a lot going on. And this whole pandemic, the reason you couldn't see your daddy for a year, same reason I haven't seen my mother in a year, same reason, Brother Mack, you've been distanced from. It's because of all the foolishness that is a part of America. I think that's what I hear him saying. What do y'all hear?
Well, the other thing about it is, when you just look at the Rittenhouse case, right? You got this young, reckless, racist teenager who doesn't live in the state, knows he's going into a volatile situation, carries an illegal weapon in there, and now shoots and kills 2 people. Now you have a judge who says that those people who were murdered, killed, you cannot even call them victims. So just think about the precedent that he has set, that judge has set. Right. Trust and believe. And then now you got -45 who wants to treat Rittenhouse as though he's some celebrity and invite him down to Key Largo. Imagine the messaging that is sent every time that there's a protest movement. Now you can have armed vigilantes going in there saying, I can shoot and kill somebody, and now say, I fear for my life. And pray God that they get a judge similar to the idiot who absolutely set the stage, as Brother Bryce was saying, has set the stage for more of this type of nonsense to take place. And so being to your point, thank God that in the Arbery case, and my mother said it, she said, Carl, thank God they did the right thing, because there would have been some trouble up in here. And there should have been trouble had they done the wrong thing. But there needs to be trouble behind this Rittenhouse situation. I'm looking at him in the same light that I'm looking at Zimmerman. Guys who have gotten away and need to face retribution.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. There was so much that Bryce was dropping, and I know that last sentence just wrapped it all together for me. It's kind of like, this is all on America. There's so many different issues that are going on. Each of these issues, we can literally point out a place where there is big time a different level of pain for people of color being black people in each of these issues that are brought on by America. And it shows that America doesn't care, period. And America doesn't care about black people. Word to Kanye West from early 2000s. But this literally, when it comes to the Kyle Rittenhouse case, it's very reminiscent of George Zimmerman and how these people can get off. These regular people can just get off as if we already see how our police officers get off on these different murders of black people, but just random white folks. Now we can see the kids, the little 17-year-old kid, that ain't not a kid anymore. Not a kid at all. Grown man, but they treat him and coddle him like a child. We saw how they did Zimmerman. We heard when it came to Trayvon Martin. We heard. That's right. On the phone, we heard the audio. We heard it. Now we got video of this little white boy shooting people, killing them, and getting off. We have evidence of how they coddled and walked him over and fist bumped him, and to see the joy, the same joy that Zimmerman had, to see the joy that they get to walk free after killing people, after murdering people. The joy on their faces.
Illegal weapon.
There are so many holes. There are so many things that are there right in front of us that are clearly law breaking. But when a white person does it, there is always an asterisk there. It's always like, yes, this is breaking the law, but we know that we made the law to protect
Queen, I think that's what we would call white privilege.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Clear and up front. And let me say this. I get that America has not been perfect. I get that. But I would defy any of us to find a nation that has been perfect. And so I take this lesson from Thurgood Marshall. Thurgood Marshall embraced the Constitution because, again, it is not our quest to have a perfect nation, but it is certainly incumbent upon us to make America a more perfect nation. That's right. So with all of the ills that it has, which is why I strongly urge us to become academians of our experience in this country, so that when these things begin to resurface, we are in a place where we can clearly articulate the past patterns and practices of this country to prevent those practices and patterns from continuing forward.
I agree 100%.
Thanks.
But it makes us feel like, and how Bryce is feeling, almost at a place where it's like, to those who have been doing the work over the years, to those who have been fighting in these spaces that are infiltrated by people like Kyle Rittenhouse, where we're supposed to feel protected in those. We already know that when we go out, we're going to have to deal with the police officers. When we're going out to protest for our rights, for our protection of our people, just to say, hey, Black lives do matter. Stop killing us. Just to say that. We know at this point that we can be met, because this is what they do in these cases. I feel like this case was really out there to send a message to all of the people who protest, all the people who hit the streets, all the people who fight for the rights of Black people, that this can happen at your protest. This can happen to you for fighting for Black people, and nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do about it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because in America, Black lives do not matter. The fear mongering, the fear that they're trying to put and instill in us for us not to fight, for us not to move forward, for us not to continue and ask for change. And then the distress, we are drained. We're drained. People are risking their lives every day in the middle of a damn pandemic. People said, no, we're going to fight for the lives of Black people. We're going to fight for our rights. In the middle of a pandemic, early on, no answers to nothing, but willing to risk their lives for that. Now we have to be met not only with police officers who are throwing tear gassing people, shooting out rubber bullets, those kind of things, driving their vehicles through crowds, those kind of things. Not only that we have to be met with that, but people who will be wielding, white people who may be wielding illegal weapons, and then shoot you and then get off for it. Because they were protecting themselves. Showing up to a protest they had no business at.
Right. And when you think about it, Rebecca, and going back again to the nuggets that Bryce dropped, you think about what we've done in this country. Ali was a conscientious objector. They went after him. We had silent protests in New York where we marched the streets and no one said a thing. They had a problem with it. We've had nonviolent protest movements. They got a problem with it. We got sit-ins. We get beat. They got a problem with it. We got a raised fist. They got a problem with it. We take a knee. They got a problem with it. They got but an insurrection against the democracy of this country and nobody gets treason, these types of issues, and all of a sudden these are debatable. People don't be held accountable for it, which is part of the problem right now. You take a look at all that negative, and I'm going to say this about negative 45. Negative 45 would go on the Mount Rushmore of racists. There is no doubt, and Brother Ben, we talked about this, that America is one of the greatest nations to ever grace this planet. And to think that negative 45, a known racist, whose father was a known racist, look at the pattern, look at the seeds of racism and hatred that he has sown. And because with all that he has done, he pays absolutely no accountability for it. This is why these things continue. We don't have to imagine that had Barack Obama did a 10th of what negative 45 did, what would have happened to him as a black man? Because we've seen it over and over again, no matter how we react to the oppression that comes upon us. White folks got a problem with it. Well, I don't give a damn what you think about how we do what we do. We will burn this mother down, like it or not. We gonna get this thing straight now. America, you ain't a perfect nation, but you can damn bet your ass we gonna make it a more perfect nation. Like it. Oh, no.
Wait a minute. Come on, G.I. Mack. Come on, G.I. Mack. We're going to burn this mother down. Listen, I didn't
see that coming.
Dr. Carl, I didn't see those pictures coming. Dr. Carl Mack, in these times, though, I know you want to say America was the great, it's a good nation at some point in time. I know, and but for people on the outside, me being a product of immigrants, I wish that they believe that with everything in their core, in their spirit, that America was, is, may be, and then get here and have a different experience. But I can't find anywhere where America, I can't really find where it was that amazing for people of color. Now, for people of color in their groups, they've made it for themselves with their culture. They've tried, made cities for themselves, everything. But America won't let the black folks be great. How great can this damn country be? All them other countries too, I agree. I definitely agree. And I ain't knocking it because I live here. I want America to be not only great for the white folks, for the conservatives, for those who follow Donald Trump. I don't want it that way. I want everybody to get a piece, to not just the crust. Okay, I want everybody to get a piece of this pie. Everybody, regardless of what color it is, but that's not how it works here. I don't know when we'll find that, when we'll see that in our education system, in careers, in employment, in anything when it comes to America being great for black people, but we find great and we make it that. We had a cookout that we said that's great for us, it's culture for black Americans, and white folks try to infiltrate that. They always find their way in our culture for black people, and which we will always do, no matter the turmoil, no matter the stress, no matter what's been thrown at us. Black people will always find great for themselves. I do agree with that, but I want for one day, Dr. Martin Luther King, I really want for one day for everybody to be able to experience great regardless of what color you are, and specifically for black people, because we have always been the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. That's right.
It. But we did y'all see who was that did the swag surf? The college that did the swag, was it Ohio State? Somebody's entire stadium was doing the swag surf. Not necessarily good, but they were doing it. I look at all of the brilliance that comes from blackness, not just culturally, but also in terms of science, in terms of leadership. It's just sheer brilliance. But at the end of the day, we find ourselves economically at the bottom of every totem. And I think that's clearly because that's how this thing is designed, all in the backdrop of all these people, these mediocre white conservatives in particular, who get away with literal murder and get away with overthrowing our democracy and get away and even become the president of the United States. it's just it's a lot. And speaking of brilliance, I do, before we're almost out of time here, and I don't want the show to end without us recognizing the young brother who passed away. And I say young, Virgil Abloh, he was 41, so he's my age, passed away after fighting a battle with cancer. I didn't know a lot about his work, but obviously I knew about his work.
He's amazing. He's the actually an artistic director of Louis Vuitton menswear, and he also did his own brand, Off-White. We saw Off-White a lot in the culture for Black Americans, rappers, all of that good stuff. We've seen that. And Virgil was battling a cancer, the name of it, but it's a cardiac, it was cardiac angiochroma. I'm saying that wrong, but it's a rare cancer.
I don't even know why he tried.
That was, it was a rare cancer that he was battling, but he battled it in secret for since 2019. We remember Chadwick Boseman, and remember how we were, a lot of people on social media were ridiculing him and not knowing what he was going through. So nowadays, I think, people might be battling something, and we've seen him. He's said that he's got some new things going on with Louis Vuitton and all these kind of things. But, for him to die at such a young age, a father, a husband, and be such a huge, very, very huge a pinnacle for the culture right now in every aspect. A Black man being a creative director for Louis Vuitton, come on now. Just to have that it was amazing. It was great. But I want to talk about how people are battling things, and especially people of these stature, and maybe battling something in the quiet, and we ain't even know about it. It literally came out of random when I saw that this man died. Everybody was saying, wow, didn't know. Life is short, y'all. Life is short. Time does not wait for anybody. I'm glad that he was able to accomplish so many things. And I'm also glad that he kept that, within him and his family and friends, his close circle, because the world is a vicious place. The world, we are some kind of people. We'll love on you and turn around and be like, what's wrong with him? He looking sick. It's crazy out here, all that kind of stuff. But damn, it's sad to see this man.
41.
Queen, I would say this. When I saw the news, it instantly took me back to a brother named Patrick Kelly. And I'm not sure if you all know who Patrick Kelly was.
Patrick Kelly. Who was he?
But Patrick Kelly was born in Mississippi, Vicksburg, Mississippi. Wanted to be a part of the fashion industry, moved to Atlanta, opened up a boutique shop. There was a model who saw his work and encouraged him to move to New York, and so he could showcase his talents more. Ultimately, he went to Europe. But while there were people like Dior, Benjamin, Chanel, Saint Laurent. All of them came to this brother for his fashion. And he, too, at a very early age, and he's featured in the calendar on September 24th, a brother by the name of Patrick Kelly. Please look him up. And he, too, died at a very early age, 36 years of age. So as I looked at this story, it took me right back. And again, that's one of the things I'm talking about with our history. There's so many lessons in there that as you see events take place today, history will give you a reminder of things of that as well.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. You're right. And wow, this man really did a lot. This man really made a mark in places and here's what you were talking about, Dr. Mack, it's important for us to get into these spaces, right? White folks don't want to let us in, and it took this man a lot. He had to believe in himself with his own brand, and make sure that the fashions were cultivated and protected by us, because a lot of times we will see our fashions being on Instagram and all these social medias, and all of a sudden they are remade by these big brands, and the same thing, and sold for God knows how much, banking off of somebody else's idea. We see that a lot. We saw that in how pop was created with the remakes of a lot of Black artist's music. So here we are, and we see this. I think it was important to have him when we did, and to see that he can infiltrate spaces like Louis Vuitton. They thought they were bringing him in for diversity and inclusion, and he changed the game. So, you know, it is important to infiltrate these spaces, and it's important for us to make sure that we create history like this. So for when you thought of Mr. Kelly, you know, maybe in the future somebody else will be reminded of Virgil. So all of this does play a role, but I'm glad that we can see great people and remember great people in history, and that's what I want people to remember Virgil as. So
yeah. So real quick, everything that y'all said is spot on and very important, but I think it's also important that we start to change the way that we spend money as people. Like a lot of us don't realize the buying power that we have, and without us, a lot of these big brands wouldn't survive. Like he made his mark on Louis Vuitton, sure, but he shouldn't have had to be the creative director for Louis Vuitton to be who he was. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So we gotta be, we gotta start supporting our own and building our own brands and taking.
And everybody who can take a look at this, please spend money only with Black-owned businesses. And so as far as I'm concerned, you negate the fact if you spend $100 with a Black-owned business and you spend $1 outside the community, I'm a little disappointed about that $1. I appreciate the 100, but when I say zero, don't spend not one penny outside of our community on December 6th in remembrance of that very dark time that we came out of, and the fact that as a collective, as Dwayne said, when you look at the buying power of us, what happens when we're able to turn that money back over? Thus, as I think Tiger said or Bryce said, let us remember Black Wall Street. Why did they call it Black Wall Street? Because that dollar changed hands multiple times in our community, and we can continue to doing the same thing. And at least for one day on December 6th, in honor of the ratification of the 13th Amendment, which ended chattel slavery, let us only spend money in our community.
I like that. No, I really do. I think that we in December, so we could even, Black-owned businesses, some of our followers, some of our viewers. I mentioned Je Mérite by one of our followers, people who view us often. So there's so many different brands. You're right. And I like that. And I feel that. Okay. I would love to. And I know subconsciously we go out every day and we purchase things because these are the things that are around us, not really knowing, hey, I can actually purchase from this Black-owned business, and something that suits you. I know some of them be a little pricey, but there are going to be Black-owned businesses that will be able to suit you, and they're right. They have the styles that we go in. Fashion Nova steals styles every day. They steal styles every day. Another company that just steals styles every day. So from people who are posting up their pictures of what they of styles and things that come from our culture. Like Dwayne said, it's our culture that builds us, and we shouldn't have to go and sell ourselves to these big brands that that will take them and give you a percentage of it for your idea and become richer than that. My nephew told me the other day, he was like, because he has a lot of shoes, and he's like, some people will tell me, Tati, that these shoes aren't name brand and these shoes are. I have a lot of name brand shoes, but there's one pair of basketball shoes that I like and they're not name brand. He's like, to me, they're all the same. I mean, I don't see why people, have such a big deal, because to me, he's like, the bottom of the shoe is the same as this bottom of the shoe. The material of the shoe is the same as this material of the shoe. My nephew, who is 9 years old, just turned 9, and he's like, the laces look the same. To me, I just like the way this has more comfort and it's better to my feet, and I can play basketball with them. And I'm like, you're getting it at such a young age, and I love that. So you understand that, it's something conditioned in our mind to see white people with it and think it's quality. And when Black people have it, it's just like, I'd rather have it with the name.
So Queen, you know what that reminds me of, Queen? Again, here's a lesson from history. It reminds me of May 17, 1954, when Kenneth and Mamie Bancroft Clark did the doll study. They put the little white doll in.
Oh, yes.
Everybody has nothing but positives to say. They put the black doll in front of the black children and everything negative comes out. So the very thing that you're talking about, again, this is what I'm saying to you. The more we take a look at history, it just reminds of these things over and over again. When are we going to look at the black doll and see the beauty? So Queen, as I look at you today, with your ethnic-centric hair flowing, and flowing, the earrings.
Dwayne, take me down. Take me down, Dwayne.
Our queen.
Thank you.
Listen, we get ready to go to the after party. I love that December 6th thing. I was joking. I wasn't serious. They were getting too comfortable there. Support black businesses on December 6th. And if you're looking for a business to support, patreon.com/like it or not is the best place to go. Patreon.com/like it or not, because there's no reason for our show to have to go somewhere else when we're already doing the damn thing.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
Y'all. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, it's the after party. After the party, it's the after party. That's all I got. Rebecca, do you want to say something to the public before we go?
No, I love you guys, Mina. Thanks for rocking with me. And we'll see you in the after party because y'all going to be patrons, right?
Hey, and Brother Mack, as always, we'll see you in the after party if you want to hang out. If not, I know you got 19 whole Baptists you got to go visit sometime.
No, man, it's cold out there. And I will tell you this one last thing. The day before Thanksgiving, I got my booster shot. So I spent Thanksgiving, the boys were with their car. I spent Thanksgiving home alone, but it was a thoughtful, beautiful Thanksgiving nonetheless. And I'm glad to have gotten that booster shot, so I'm cool in the game.
Well, we see you.
I'm
He
getting my
boosting a lot
booster
of
on
things.
Wednesday.
He boosting his immune system, boosting his
And his
body.
six-pack.
I see. It's a lot of things happening.
I love it. I love it. Well, now that you got that booster, we want to get you down here to Atlanta one of these days. We're going to do a live in-person show only with people who have the booster shot. So, Brother Mack, Dwayne, we're going to take it to a quick break. When we come back, it's the after party. Patreon.com/like it or not to get access. We'll be back right after this.
Hey, and sorry, real quick, before we go, talking about black stuff, blackheritagedays.com. Everybody go to blackheritagedays.com and get your calendar today.
Oh, go Dwayne.
I could really use a change of scenery. Yeah. Everybody smoking all the greenery. Yeah. Close the match cause they were handed down to me. But I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you. It could all be worse. Pills to make the man, but that poison's gonna kill you. From the inside out, so right now. Say it with your chest now, say it with your chest now. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time to ride it out. It's your time. Oh. Cheers to all the haters, cause you proved to me that rising to the top was my destiny. And you can see whatever from behind me, but I'm still